What is going on, everyone, and happy Fed Day. The stock market is now 0.25% away from all-time highs after the Fed just turned the money printers back on. And the best part of December hasn't even started yet. In today's video, we're going to cover what to know, what to look out for, and where the action is at right now.
Powell came in clutch today and is setting the market up for an end of December Santa rally. Yes, as we can see today, the SPY had some very positive price action. Whenever the interest rate decision was announced at 2 p.m. Eastern time, the market started ripping. Whenever Powell spoke, again, the market ripped. It did fluctuate a little bit, but ended up closing up very high, like Mike said, about 0.25% away from all-time highs. Now, if we actually go to this data here, we can see that over the next few trading days, historically, December is a bit shaky. But like we've been saying, as we get to that middle to the end part of the year, we do start to see price action pick up a lot. And of course, that Santa rally starts to come into play. I feel like today the market had such a positive reaction, and we're kind of setting up for a good end of December.
It's going to be a super exciting end to the year, but let's talk more about what's actually driving this move higher. Today, the Federal Reserve cut interest rates by 25 basis points. This is the third cut of 2025. They also announced that they are going to begin purchasing $40 billion worth of U.S. Treasury bills per month starting this Friday, December 12th. They're turning the money printers back on again, and they're doing what they need to do to help the economy. Investors are very happy right now.
They definitely are. You know, turning the money printers back on is a very big deal. And a lot of people they're a bit worried, though, at the same time that, hey, if we start turning the money printers back on with inflation kind of creeping up, to 3% levels again, are we going to start seeing inflation jump higher? That was a lot of the questions that Jerome Powell had to really answer today. And that's also a big reason why the Federal Reserve has been so divided lately. If we actually go and look here on the Federal Reserve dot plot, there's only one rate cut scheduled for 2026 and only one for 2027 as well. That is a pretty stark contrast to this year, where we've had 3 rate cuts over the past 3 meetings in a row. So, going forward, there's a pretty, I would say, there's a neutral outlook, right, by the Fed. What they're really waiting for is they're waiting to see how the economy plays out. Jerome Powell really made this apparent today, and that's one of the big reasons why we saw Kalshi odds and just odds in general for a rate cut in in January start to diminish and actually go more towards the Fed's holding that pause stance. We can see towards the middle to end of November, we did see that shift, and then today it started to really pop higher.
And I think that's a great approach to have because, if you cut rates too aggressively, we can have a big problem with inflation. And that has been a big problem, especially over these past few years. But it's also needed to stimulate the economy because the jobs market is weakening quite a bit. So I think they're making some smart decisions here. And I think it says a lot how investors are buying pretty strongly right now. And one thing that's really good, especially for traders right now, is that December is a historically strong period for the stock market. It is actually the most likely month to be green, where it rises 73% of the time. Of the last 97 years, there have only been 26 instances that have seen negative returns, and also the average returns are pretty good as well, with only July beating it.
Yeah, that is awesome. That really helps support that good end of year move. And like you said, this is a lot of data going all the way back to 1928, including a lot of big events like even the Great Depression that happened around that time. But this is a pretty good piece of data here. Of course, it helps support a positive end of December. But whenever I talk about December stats and just the stats going on right now in general with what the Federal Reserve is doing, whenever they do end up cutting rates, while the S&P is within 1% of an all-time high, we do actually see some shorter term negativity. 1 and 2 weeks later, the market only goes green 44% of the time before finally picking up 1 month and 2 months later. And 2 months later is where things start to really get green again, going green 73% of the time. So we're seeing a bit of conflicting stats here, but again, this is a pretty different scenario than usual, right? If we look at a lot of the data here, there's only been one other data point where they had a cut at this point in December. The market did go green in the short term, but as we can see, it ended up closing 1 year later up 18%.
Yeah, like what's really nice is that these conditions make for more bullishness going forward. But of course, there's always that like short-term chop and just volatility that you can have. And I think it's good to prepare for that just in case we do see that. But I also think it's worth keeping in mind that every situation is unique. We're very close to all-time highs. The stock market has been crushing it this year. We're heading into a historically strong time of the year. And of course, every situation is unique. So, Tom, when we look at the market right now, SPY is like kissing its all-time high. What are you seeing in terms of major levels and what's on your radar?
At the end of the day today, the SPY technically broke its all-time high, hitting 690.05. This was a pretty crazy move there at the end of the day, a very, very, very fast move where it just barely broke the all-time high and immediately fell back down. The most important level to watch tomorrow, keep watching 690 to that 690.05 high. That is going to be very important to re-break. If the market cannot re-break that and really hold above the previous all-time high, then be very, very careful and just remember that with these Fed events, we can see weird reversals happen in the short term. But overall, today, Jerome Powell really drove in a lot of buying pressure. Whenever, obviously, the interest rate decision happened, and then whenever he started speaking, we started to really see that market start to really pump to the upside. So keep watching for more pumps. If we do pull back tomorrow, I am going to be watching 686. That was a pretty big level from the past few trading days. It did act as a pretty good intraday resistance today. Didn't quite get to 686, but got very close before rejecting back down. If we fall below there, definitely watch the low of day from today, closer to 681.50. That is going to be critical. Mike, I remember you mentioned 681.50 yesterday. Guess what? That ended up holding up as perfect support again today. So keep watching that level in the short term if there is a pullback. If that doesn't break, though, I think that the structure is still there for a possible hold for this overall good move to start to happen into the end of the year.
Definitely. And what's really nice is that the market has been pretty choppy and just it has been consolidating quite a bit over like the past 1 to 2 weeks. Now that we are breaking past some of these resistance levels that the market has been struggling at, I think it is bringing in a lot of good buying pressure in addition to the good seasonality, in addition to the positively perceived FOMC event, and it's a good thing for investors heading into the end of the year. Like you pointed out, there is heavy resistance overhead right around 690, but I think we're so close, and I think that the market is, pretty positive right now that there's a good shot that we're going to see that break before the end of the year. We shall see. Either way, let's keep it close on watch. And then, Tom, looking at the lineup for the rest of the week, we have some exciting earnings scheduled. So what's going on?
We definitely do. One of the biggest companies in the S&P will be reporting tomorrow, which is AVGO or Broadcom. This is one of the biggest tech stocks out there, so keep your eyes on that, of course, for the tech sector. Lululemon and Costco will report as well, which could maybe show how consumers are spending, especially in Costco's case. But nonetheless, hopefully consumers keep buying, right, and keep supporting this overall nice end-of-the-year Santa rally. And Mike, looking at the economic lineup tomorrow, there is initial jobless claims coming out early in the morning. As long as those don't surprise the market too much and show that the jobs market is weakening much more than people might think, then I think that overall things should be just fine to continue like they did today.
Beautiful. All right, well, let's get right into the fun stuff then, which are some setups and predictions. A stock that is definitely on my radar is CCOY, and it is to the upside. There was a recent big money trade on this one, and it is starting to do pretty well. CCOY has been basing very strongly right off the $16 support area. Now it's all the way up to just under 24. This is like a $2 million big money trade that expires in April of 2026. I really like the way that the stock is is strengthening, not only in terms of its like price action over the past 2 weeks, but I also really like this increase in momentum. It's up 11% on the day. The big money trader is still holding this position, and I think it's a stock worth watching. Of course, the trade is up a fair amount at this point, so it's not like sniping the bottom, but I think it has a good a good trade behind it, and the price action is great in a market that is also pretty strong.
Whenever you zoom out on CCOI, this trade looks pretty insane, and they really sniped the bottom there too, entering on like the literal day where it touched support. So that was a good snipe there by the big money. I will keep watching it as well, as momentum is starting to really pick up in the short term. If you're not in the big money trade, there could still be those short-term opportunities to still look at. With my first play, I'm looking at Palantir. Now, I have looked at Palantir to the downside a little bit as things got shaky over the past few weeks and few months, but looking at it today, it did have that nice pop, up 3.34% before pulling back at the end of the day. I really like, though, how it started to hold some good support ranges at the end of the day, closer to 186 to 187. So as long as that continues to hold tomorrow, I will be watching for a possible breakout above 190. This 190 range was critical today. We can see on the Bookmap, 190 was like the biggest sell wall all throughout the middle part of the day, and whenever it actually hit 190, it rejected all the way back down from that high of day. There could have been opportunities sniping it down from there. Obviously, intraday today, shout out to Bookmap for the X-ray vision, but what I'm looking for tomorrow is a good breakout past 190 and a continuation up towards the next sell wall of 195. Again, maybe you could even look at 195 for a possible snipe, kind of like the possibility at 190 from today. But either way, I'm watching it for a possible breakout.
Sounds good. If you have not tried out Bookmap yet, definitely check it out. You can save quite a bit with the link in the description and the comments down below. It's like the X-ray vision of the stock market, and they are offering some great deals right now. So definitely check it out. It shows you where all the key buyers and sellers are stacked up, plus so much more. Another stock that is close on watch is PRMB. This was yesterday's big money trade, and I like it, but in a broader sense. Like, this stock doesn't have to rise tomorrow. Like we covered yesterday, the expiration is all the way out until April, and I'm also looking at it in like a broader sense as well. I like the risk reward with it. I also like how the company's increasing its buybacks as well. And I think it has price action that's even similar to CCOY, where the stock got hammered down for multiple months, and the trader is coming in basically buying the dip with some options that have quite a bit of time to them. So either way, PRMB is on my bullish radar, but again, this is like more of a broader term trade.
Yeah, it might take a little while to play out. There is a decent amount of time here, and as long as it keeps holding this lower range, we could see that good recovery start to take hold. So I'll be watching it very closely over the next few days and few weeks. It was a pretty big money trade too, $1.3 million there. But with my next play, I'm looking at Micron for another continuation. I've been looking at Micron to the upside quite a bit over the past few trading days. One of my favorite things is they started to really break through a good downwards trend. That actually happened on Monday's gap up this week, and then they really continued for multiple days in a row here, up 4.47%, and they made a new all-time high. So what I'm watching for tomorrow is for them to break back above that high of day from today, closer to 265. If they can break that and really hold above that previous all-time high resistance, closer to like 258 to 260, then I will keep watching this stock to the upside. I think there could be more possible continuation in the short term. I do feel it's getting overextended, but again, ride the wave until it ends, right? Especially in such a positive environment if the S&P 500 does continue higher.
Sounds good. Let's keep it close on watch, and then let's jump right into today's momentum plays. With the first one, we have Delta Airlines, ticker symbol DAL, to the upside.
That was a really strong move today. It closed right around $70. If it can move above $70.10, then watch for a good continuation.
With the next one, we have Barrick Mining Corporation, ticker symbol B, also to the upside.
Yeah, the market wasn't the only thing going up today. Gold and silver also had a nice continuation. So I am watching B to the upside for tomorrow. I like how it posted that wick hitting around 42, so make it break through $42.
And then with the last one, we have Hims and Hers, ticker symbol HIMS, but to the downside.
This one did not share in the love today, that is for sure. It moved down quite a bit, closing down almost 5%. If it falls under 37.60, watch it down. It bounced around this low of day multiple times, then even closed near it, which is a pretty bearish sign.
Sounds good. So we have these 3 stocks on the radar for potential continuations tomorrow. You guys know the drill. These stocks are volatile, so whether you trade one of these 3 or anything else, focus on what matters, which is making smart, long-term oriented trading decisions. Never enter a trade without knowing why you're getting in. Have a stop loss and protect your capital above all else. If you need help with this, check out the Key Lessons channel in the StockedUp Discord. It is completely free. And besides that, Tom, let's jump right into today's $1.25 million big money trade. And we are looking at none other than ESTC. Today, the trader here bought the 85 strike call options that expire on March 20th of 2026. This is a $1.25 million trade. Looking at ESTC, the stock has been struggling a little bit. It's been more choppy and flat than anything else, and it is a software company that provides a platform for enterprise search, observability, and cybersecurity. The stock is bouncing and holding very well off that $70 support. Their recent earnings definitely turned the sentiment around. They beat earnings, gave forward guidance, and announced growth in AI and cloud adoption, which is great, and it's exactly what investors want to hear, especially in this environment. The strikes are a little bit far out of the money, which is a risk, but there's also a fair amount of time to this trade, and the stock is moving up in a pretty meaningful way. I think it's an interesting setup. Of course, it's not like the craziest trade we've ever seen, but I also like how it's towards the lower end of its range, and I think that definitely helps, especially in a market that is, kissing all-time highs.
Definitely. I love it being down around that lower part of the range, and it is starting to bounce really well. Following that last earnings report, it did move down for a couple days there, but really is starting to recover back and fill that gap back to the upside. So I am going to be watching this one very, very closely. I love the channel here, and I love plays that have this type of setup. Like you said, the 85 strike is a little bit out of the money, but whenever we actually look at the channel and we actually plot the 85 strike, it's more of around the middle of the channel, especially whenever you count where today's close was. So it's not really that far away considering how much the stock has moved in the past, especially during some of these other periods where, it will like bounce off of this lower range and move all the way back up to 95, which would put that strike well in the money within just a couple months. It does have quite a bit of time too, out to March. So, you can give this play at least a few weeks of time, if not, even more, of course. I'm sure the big money trader will give it quite a lot of time. A lot of times they're very patient.
Exactly. So either way, let's keep it close on watch. If you are new to the channel, welcome, and definitely consider obliterating that subscribe button. Every single day, it takes us a long time to make these videos, and we cover everything you need to know about the stock market and more. Whether it's big money trades, the most important upcoming events, earnings, Fed data, historical stats, SPY levels and analysis, we cover it all for every single trading day. If you subscribe, you'll get our videos recommended to you more often, so definitely consider doing that. And let's also give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, JJ, in the StockedUp Discord, who had some great profits with some QQQ call options today. So huge shout out to you. Keep up the great work going forward. And if you guys have not checked out Bookmap yet, definitely check it out. It's like the X-ray vision of the stock market. They're offering some great deals right now, and you can save quite a bit with the links in the description and comments below. Definitely check it out. Thank you all so much for watching, and let's crush it in the market tomorrow.